So let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about creating a schedule. And in utilizing goals versus priorities, we use a lot of the color codes and things like that, but we're going to talk about that. So ordinary people think merely of spending time, right? Great people think of using it. It's one of my really favorite quotes. And so a lot of us are just kind of floating through the day, kind of willy-nilly, just, whatever happens. Our business is very reactive instead of proactive, which is a lot of what I talk about in my classes. And so how protective are you of your time in the day? The thing you have to really think about is that it's really up to you, right? To create and hold the boundaries. And because it's an addictive business that we're in, you're so afraid you're going to lose a deal that you let your business come before just about everything, right? So how many of you have had a situation where you were doing something with your family and all of a sudden you see a text or a call from someone that's a client and you're like, you drop everything and you rush off away from your family to talk to this business aspect, right? And it's just really important that you understand that you've got to create some boundaries. And how you create those boundaries is by explaining that to your clients whenever possible up front. For example, my schedule says my voicemail on my phone says I'm available Monday through Fridays from 8:30 to 6 p.m. I work evenings and Saturdays by appointment. I take Sundays off to be with my family, right? So most people are very respectful of my time and energy. And you have to learn how to say no. Like learning how to say no to more than you say yes to is a skill, and it's a challenge because we want to be the yes people. We want to do everything, right? We want to be available to everyone. And sometimes that's just not realistic. And people get very lost in what times to be and where and who they should spend their most time with. And again, real estate is an addictive business. So we have a tendency where we want to drop everything and do what people say because we're afraid we're going to lose out on a deal. So learning how to create those boundaries and how to explain those boundaries. Here's a big thing to keep in mind too. Boundaries don't really matter if nobody knows about them, right? So I remember I had an agent who was really frustrated that somebody had texted her at 6:30 in the morning. And I said, well, why would you be upset about that? She goes, well, that's just disrespectful. I said, well, did you ever tell them that you don't want text messages at 6:30 in the morning? Did you ever tell them what your hours were, your hours of operation and when you work? So you can't be upset when people cross a boundary that they don't know of, right? Now, for me, you guys on your phones these days, you have do not disturb. I literally put do not disturb on my phone from 6 p.m. until 6 in the morning. If text messages come in during that time or messages, I don't see them until I look at my phone in the morning. So that's an option that you guys all have on your cell phones now, right? So let's talk about time blocking the priorities you've set from last week's class. Again, if you've not watched last week's class, you can head on over to YouTube and there are several versions of that class there. And I really recommend you do it. And so you want to take the priorities that you set last week and start by plugging those into your calendar first, right? So let me ask you this. Do you really want to learn how to build a business around your life or a life around your business? Well, if you start to create a schedule in a time and you start to create an ideal schedule, guess what? Your life goes in first. You're going to plug in your life to your schedule first, and then you start to build your business around it, okay? And so you want to include all areas of your life, not just work. So for example, this is a typical type schedule that you can see. And on the left-hand side, you will see all the different priorities and they're color-coded, and you can then block them into your schedule so that you can make sure the important stuff, the big blocks, get put in first. For example, love life. My husband and I have date night. Saturday night is our goal, okay? And then you'll see I've plugged in time for some happiness, right? Watch a little comedy, right? Our spiritual goal, plug in church, plug in time with friends, plug in time for yourself, right? What is important to you? Up here, you can see meditation, you can see gym time, Here you can see family dinner. This is family time, right? Dance class maybe that you're doing with your family. You can start to plug in, have some prospecting time for work, reviewing your finances, right? Buyer client appointments, listing appointments. Now, is your schedule going to look like this every week? No, right? It's not going to look like that every week. But guess what? Some of these are hard yeses, meaning my date night with my husband, nothing bumps that. Okay, that's important. My time with my family, rarely, if ever, do I bump that. That's important time for me. Okay. And so you're starting to really look at all of these things. Now, what are the white areas? Well, guess what? You can pop things in when you need to, right? You have some openings there. And so when you start to look at this schedule, yeah, it looks fantastic. Is this real life? Maybe, maybe not, right? So this worked a lot when my kids were young because I had kids that had soccer games. So I would do open houses on Sundays, right? Here's another example. This is one that is more like mine now because my kids are grown, right? So, well, this still shows breakfast for boys, but I was working out in the morning, spending time with my kids before school, getting into team meetings and client appointments and marketing review calls that I do, trainings, friends time, date night with hubby, right? Pick up the kids, dinner time, go out to dinner, spend time with friends. So these are some examples of schedules. So what you want to do is you want to take all of this stuff over here and what is a big priority right now for you? Like what is most important to you? And plug those in very first, right in the beginning. So let's talk about some questions that you guys have, some thoughts and ideas, or what your biggest concerns are. Many times creating this schedule, the big issue is you're concerned that you won't be able to live with it or you won't be able to make it work. So what are some questions and concerns that you guys have about a schedule like this? Who lives by their calendar? Me. Frankly, if something is not in my calendar, it does not exist. It's not going to happen. If this class was not in my calendar every single Tuesday at 9 a.m., I would not show up. I wouldn't be here. And so it's important that you go in and you plug things. Now I've started using an app called Calendly, which is fantastic. But here's what I'll tell you about Calendly. You got to make sure your calendar's up to date. Otherwise, somebody schedules an appointment in there and you didn't plug in another calendar appointment, right? So Calendly is fantastic, utilizing an ideal schedule. So in this schedule, again, if I had a listing appointment that called, for example, I had somebody who called and wanted to do a listing. Guess what? I have a listing appointment at 4 o'clock today. Well, I have a buyer appointment that is an opening for a buyer appointment. So I don't have a buyer appointment. So guess what? I'm going to plug in this listing appointment today at 4 o'clock on my calendar. And how many of you guys have your calendar on your phone? Right? So the beauty of looking at your calendar on your phone is you can also, again, see what you have going on for the day. You can look at it on a daily schedule. You can look at it on a weekly schedule. You can look at it in a lot of different ways. So for example, today on my schedule, I had an 8 o'clock conference call. I had a Tuesday tune-ups. I have a staff meeting at 10:30. I have a listing appointment at 4 today. Those are all pretty much fitting in within my ideal schedules, right? So this could be different for you. Maybe you guys do your appointments from 10 to 12. Maybe you don't have lunch appointments. I encourage you to start taking lunch at least 2 to 3 days a week and make sure that lunch appointment is with somebody else. What do I mean by that? Could it be with a buyer, a seller? Could it be with a client? Could it be with a business affiliate or a business associate, somebody that you work with, right? I don't recommend it be with another agent unless you're a lender trying to get business with agents. I recommend that you go and find another business connection, somebody that you can do business with. And so if you don't have appointments scheduled during all this white area, what could you be doing? Finding ways during prospecting time to get appointments. Can you do open houses during the week? Absolutely. Right? Can you do open houses in the evening? How many of you are doing family dinner with your kids at night? Right? So Doug says we have an abundance of training available to us each week. Of course, they conflict with our ideal schedule. So we have to prioritize and adjust. Yes, you do. And here's the thing, you guys, I don't know where you're at in the industry, whether you're new or newer. And while I truly believe training is important, I will tell you that some of you need to stop training and do more work. Some of you need to stop attending classes and workshops over and over again and get out there and prospect. Some of you need to be on the phones, calling, reaching out, connecting with people, getting in front of people, right? I mean, training is important, don't get me wrong, but I would commit to a certain amount of hours per week in training. Maybe that's 5 hours a week, 4 hours a week. And then the rest of your time, you need to be getting business. Because here's the thing, you guys continue to spend so much time in training, you don't close deals. Pretty soon you can't afford the training so that you can close deals. So I'm a huge advocate for training. Please don't take that as I'm not an advocate for training. I am. But what I'm here to tell you is that sometimes I see people are spending so much time getting ready to get ready to be prepared, to get ready to be prepared, right? And that is something where it's keeping you, like it's easy to justify going to a training and not doing prospecting. But what's important is you've got to get some business going. And the best way many times to learn is on the fly, right? Is learning as you go. And I'm not advocating that. I encourage you guys to do training, but pick out a certain amount of hours per week that you are comfortable with adding to your schedule for training. Does that answer your question, Doug? Okay, any other questions, comments, thoughts? You guys, we're only 15 minutes in. Come on, this was fast. What comes up for you when you think about creating a schedule for yourself? What is your big concern?
For me, undiagnosed, kind of like the AD, shooting from the hip, I guess accountability. That's where I am. So I don't have a schedule or anything. I just kind of wing it, probably like a lot of people maybe in here.
Well, and how's that working for you?
I actually work okay with it. But it could be better. Like, if I put that into a schedule, obviously I think being scheduled just works better ultimately. So it's not, I guess it doesn't work as good as it could. Efficiency.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. The two highest paid industries in the world are celebrities and athletes. How organized do you think their schedules are? How structured do you think their time is? How much time do you think they spend practicing to make sure that they're ready and that things are ready to go? Do you think a athlete shows up at a basketball game not prepared?
Not at all. I mean, I'm sure their sleep's even scheduled. I'm sure somebody's sitting there waking them up and putting them to bed, that type of thing. So, yeah.
Exactly. Time, money, energy, right? It's like important. So being more if you want to be more proactive about your business, if you want to build a business that does not fly by the seat of its pants, does not rely on, winging it and those kinds of things. If you want to build a more proactive business, then it comes down to scheduling. Okay. And making sure that you've got time available. And also, if you want to create any sort of balance, and I don't really believe in balance, but any sort of balance in your life, you've got to plug in the important stuff, which comes to your family and the things that are important, your health. How much time do you spend on your health each week? Are you going to the gym? Are you exercising? Are you planning your meals? Right? I know a lot of us have AD and OCD and all the letters that are up on those letters, right? But the reality is you have the ability to change that at any time. You have the ability to plug things in and make certain things happen. One of the biggest complaints that children have is that their parents are too busy. Their parents are on the phone. Their parents are at appointments. Their parents are, not listening. They're not paying attention. One of the big reasons relationships fail is lack of communication, lack of taking the time to pay attention and do things special for each other. You guys have the time. Show me one person, one real estate agent that's literally, truly putting in 40 consistent actual work hours a week in real estate. Show me somebody that can document their calendar that shows what they were doing minute for minute. Most of you guys have plenty of time on your hands. If I were to follow you around with a video camera all day, I'd see you on social media. I'd see you chit-chatting with friends. I'd see you, standing around the coffee machine, yakking about something, right? So how much of your time is being currently wasted? That's what you really have to look at. So yes, you guys can definitely get a blank copy of the schedule. I will find out how I can send it to you guys. Let's see if we can email it out for you, a blank calendar. But I use Google Calendar as well. I use Gmail Calendar. But I add these things into my calendar. So I literally, if you go to my calendar right now, you will see things that I have coming up. Like tomorrow is the Masters Club event, right? Thursday, I have dentist appointment, influencers call, team meetings, right? Everything is on my schedule. I have a meeting with an agent on Friday at 11:30. So lots and lots of things that are in my schedule. I have a date night with my husband on Saturday. Actually, that's not true. It's on Sunday because he's doing a comedy show in Lincoln for any of you guys that want to come. So, okay. So what other questions do we have before we wrap up? Because this was a quick class today. No other questions, comments, thoughts, ideas? Hello.
No, it was great. I've already got you pulled up. I'm already subscribed
That's good.
to you, so I'll jump on
Master
next week.
bathroom,
Awesome.
kitchen.
Look at you, Emily, hot stuff. You're
We're
better
the
at
appropriate fireplaces, so I'll say family room.
What's that? Somebody was talking. I think they're on their phone. So
Marguerite.
any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
I have a question. You mentioned it to let your schedule be known, and for instance, on your voicemail message, do you put your hours in your voicemail message? How are you putting it out there? Social media? How are you letting your time of day be known?
My schedule on my phone says I'm available Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 6 p.m. I work evenings and Saturdays by appointment. I take Sundays off with my family. When I meet with a client up front, it's one of the very first things we talk about is my schedule. This is when I'm available. I'm available Monday through Fridays, 8:30 to 6, evenings and Saturdays by appointment. I take Sundays off to be off with my family. I'll tell you, the only people who are typically disrespectful of my schedule are other real estate agents. They're like, what do you mean you don't work Sunday? Everybody works Sunday. I go, no, not everyone. No, everyone doesn't work Sunday, and I have not worked Sunday for most of my career. I spend that time with my family. My clients respect it. So they will leave me a message that says, hey, I know you don't work Sunday. Can you set this up for us? We'll talk to you tomorrow. Yes, Emily.
I'm sorry I missed you, but I'm back now. Did you have a question?
No, I was just saying you looked great.
Oh, hi.
I liked your feather earrings. So it's just really important that you make sure that you tell people up front what your schedule is, right? So if people want to meet with me now, I'll say, hey, go to mycalendly.com time with MC and book a time with me. There are several different times there now available. So any of you guys, if you wanted to book time, you can. So calendly.com /time with MC. And so these are the things that I do. There are things that get plugged into my schedule right away. Like I do a sales fuel class right now. By the way, Emily, you got to get your Heine in sales fuel. Yeah. So sales fuel class, we do it every other Thursday morning at 9, right? So those are things that are in my schedule. It doesn't change. So that's what's so important, you guys. Immediately plug stuff into your schedule. You want actual prospecting time? Put it in your schedule so that it pops up prospecting time. So you have 1 hour, half hour, 30 minutes, whatever that time is to do your prospecting time. Okay. So some of you asked about Sales Fuel. Yes, you can actually check into it. It is a paid program. You go to realestatesalesfuel.com. Let me post a link and let me get it for you. Is it coming up? Let me find that for you. Hold on. My computers aren't awake yet. So I also just today started a Etsy store and put some of my fun quotes in there. And so that's kind of fun too. I was just doing it for the heck of it. So you guys have heard me say my famous quote, you get paid in direct proportion to your ability to figure shit out. So I had it put on t-shirts and on a coffee cup. So I'm having fun with some different stuff. So there you go.
That's awesome.
There's the link for that. And let me show you my new Etsy store. I'll post that here for you guys too. I'm just having fun doing some other stuff. So I've been doing real estate 29 years.
Marguerite, I have a question.
Hello,
How are
Beth.
you?
So good to see your
Hi.
beautiful face.
Nice to see you. I struggle with the work at home, personal house management crap. Like, oh, I'll, pay bills, or, oh, I've got to schedule, a repair of an appliance, or call a roofer for my own personal home. And because I'm working at home, it's easy to fall into that trap. Do you schedule yourself personal time for those errand type things?
Yeah,
So,
everything.
or do you do them as you need to,
No,
as they
they're
come up? Because I feel like they're distractions.
No, I put them all in my schedule. Like I have a time where I sit down and I review bills. I usually do it right around the 1st and the 15th. So everything
Okay.
sits in my office over here in a box. All my mail goes in there and I really don't even open it. And right around the 1st and the 15th, I schedule an hour in my schedule and I sit down, I go through, I open my mail, I pay my bills, I do what I need to do on the 1st and the 15th. Pairs and things like that can be tough, but you can also schedule those, but that doesn't mean, so here's the typical thing with repairs. They give you a 3-hour window. So guess what? You got like 2.5 hours, you could be making calls or, setting up search portals or, putting together paperwork for your listing appointments or buyer appointments, right? So those are all
But
things.
setting all that stuff up and making phone calls, and how you have to sit on the phone sometimes to call DirecTV or just stupid stuff. Do you schedule maybe, what would you suggest, an hour a week? And you try to do it in that time frame? Because I find that crap comes up every day. And it's just, I do it. And
It does, but you don't have to do it every day, right?
right. So
you have it in your
once
head
a
that you got to
week?
get it off. You got to get it off your list. That's not true.
Right.
You
Right.
can set it aside and say, I'm going to work on this Friday at 4, right?
Okay.
Is it ideal? No, but let's say that you have an opening. Let's say you had a listing appointment Friday at 4 that reschedules. Well, guess what? Now you got a couple hours that you can go work on some of those projects.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing is that we think, so all of those things that you're coming up with, Beth, are excuses not to prospect. So
Totally.
you're home and you're like, oh, well, and since I'm home, I'll go do the laundry. Since I'm home, I'm going to go clean out that cupboard drawer. Since I'm home, I'm going to, no. If that's during your business hours, your operating hours, you don't get to do that. Okay. You don't get to, reorganize your desk drawer during that time. No, that's a procrastination technique.
Yeah.
That's simply procrastinating. For example, if I was your boss right now, and you're supposed to be working from 8 to 5, and I come in and you're doing your laundry, what's going to happen? So
you're going to get fired.
So you guys have to be the boss of you, right? And the boss of you says you don't do laundry at 10 a.m. when you're supposed to be prospecting.
Right. I could do it on my lunch hour.
You could do it on your lunch hour, right? The boss of you says you don't get to, clean out the closet right now because you've got to get some work going on. You got to get some prospecting going. You got to prepare for a listing appointment. You got to, whatever it is you have to.
Okay. So schedule it.
Yeah. So you guys are horrible bosses. That's what it comes down to, right? Like your boss sucks. I mean, so maybe in the perfect world, you got a great boss because they let you do whatever the hell you want. But what are those results working? How is that working for you? And so it's important that you start to look at that. So, and here's the way I look at it too. If I have a ton of business in the hopper, I might be a little more lax on my schedule. But if I don't have a ton of business going on, and keep in mind, you guys, what you're doing today is 90 days out. You got to remember that. So if you're being procrastinating, you're being lazy, and you're being lackadaisical this week, guess what? Right around April, May, June, you're going to wonder why you're broke. And when you wonder why you're broke, you're going to go back and say, oh, remember that class I was in with Marguerite? She said I wasn't doing the work. Guess what? I'm not closing deals. I'm doing laundry and cleaning out drawers. So the thing is, you have to make that decision. You have to be the boss of you. And the boss of you says, this is when you're working and this is when you're not. So when you start wandering off to do laundry, you have that boss in your head that says, get your butt back in your desk. Go make your calls. Go do what you need to do.
There's your t-shirt. Be the boss of you.
That's it. There you go. There's another one. Be the boss of you. Or I'm the boss of me.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, anything else? Questions, comments? All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up. It's 9:30. That means you guys got 30 minutes to go do something else, get some prospecting done, get some stuff handled.
Thank you.
Have an amazing day, you guys. Thank you all. I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.